Okay, this is a little bit weird, but I just made like a 10.5 minute video talking about why black men don't watch my channel and about hair loss and why ultimately they don't seem to be worried about hair loss like all the other races. As I was looking into this selfie cam as I'm shooting this video, having, today done the zero guard buzz cut fresh and having the 2 days stubble here already, I almost reminded myself of someone as I looked into this camera. And you can laugh, but Vin Diesel. Okay, granted, yes, he's probably like that much taller than me, and obviously he's got the muscles. And he's a bit older than me. But in some way, in general, his look, right now as I look at myself, I'm kind of reminded of Vin Diesel. And what's interesting about my understanding of Vin Diesel, because I remember I've got another YouTube channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog, which is dedicated mostly just to DNA test results, ethnicity, perceptions of that, and so on. My understanding of Vin Diesel, his ethnic background, is that he has a father, I think, who's African American, and then his mother is Italian. That's my understanding of it. So you've got a guy who's of African and Mediterranean background, okay? So it's interesting because you don't think of him being African American, just like you wouldn't think of Rashida Jones, Karen from The Office, and Zoe on I Love You Man. Her father's black and her mother's Jewish, but you look at her and you never think that could be African American like Vin Diesel, African American, but you don't think of it that way. Anyway, what I was just thinking though, as I've been making these videos, looking at myself, is thinking maybe in some ways, with this zero guard buzz cut and the 2-day beard here, do I look any more ethnically vague? Do I maybe in the same way that Vin Diesel does? I mean, until I knew that he had African DNA, I just thought he was just a white guy. I never thought, oh, he's Italian and he's African descent. So, my mom is supposedly half Italian, but the DNA test shows Sephardic Jewish and Middle Eastern. And her test also showed 2% African. So, I mean, there's some things that connect over there. Of course, for me, my mother's also half Mexican, or her mother was Mexican. So that means about, the test on my end shows I'm about a fifth to a quarter Native American via Mexico. So, but it does make me wonder though, because I made a video before saying, I wonder, back when I still had hair, I said, before I shave off all my hair, will this be like I'm losing ethnic traits? Will I look less ethnic? Will I look more just like a generic white guy once I get rid of the hair? But right now, today, I feel the opposite. I feel like I look more ethnic, and I'm not saying that I look black, but I just did a video about black men, and I'm like, you know what? If my skin were a bit darker, I could see how you could see how that distant African DNA that I have through my mother's side could possibly be there. I'm looking at myself thinking, I could almost look like I'm a little bit black, like mixed in there with everything else. So nothing too groundbreaking about this video, but I guess just ultimately, I feel like I look a little bit like a black guy, a little bit, with this particular situation going on. And remember, I think black men are so handsome. So I guess there's part of me that wants to think that I look a little bit African descent because I already think that about black men. But in general too, it just is interesting. The concept of if you're a man who gets rid of your hair, does it sort of change a perception of your ethnic background? Maybe you are just a completely just white guy of European descent and your genes go back to Scotland and England and that's it. But maybe you suddenly look more ethnically vague once you get rid of the hair. So has anybody experienced that? I guess is really what this video is about. Is there anybody watching this video, you got rid of your hair and suddenly people saw you almost like you were a different ethnicity, or they saw a certain part of you, they mistaken you for something else, or all of a sudden, or maybe they thought you looked Jewish, or thought you looked like you were part Indian from India, or whatever it is, Middle Eastern, whatever it is. Of course, again, I've kind of got a lot of all those backgrounds in me to begin with because of my mom's DNA, which is an interesting enough topic that it's got its own channel, Family Friendly Daddy Blog. So anybody want to add to that conversation? Has anyone experienced that other people saw different ethnic background in you, whether it was true or not? Did they see you from a different ethnic perspective, a different DNA background once you got rid of the hair? Did it reveal more about your overall head shape and facial structure that made me think, oh, well, he's not just some white guy, he's also got this or that in his bloodline? So I think it's interesting. If you got anything to add to it, I would love to hear about it, because they'll probably make that into other videos too. I think this is something worth talking about for those of us who are very interested in knowing how our ethnic background shapes not only our physical appearance, but also a sense of our identity.